to be debating whether or not integration was beneficial or detrimental to people of color.
Shout out to Max West Indian Restaurant in Hackensack,
New Jersey.
Our Black History
support Black
business
Max.
For this episode.
Well, if we giving shout outs, I got to shout out my Jamaican store.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Cool. Yeah, the 24-hour drink, Cooler Runnings.
What is it called?
Cooler Runnings. That's a spot. Cooler Runnings.
Like the movie?
Yup.
But it's cooler than the movie?
Cooler Runnings. Yup. When a white person has never experienced Black history firsthand, they can't relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, until they're in a car with you and they get pulled over by a cop, until they're in a car with you and they're being harassed for being with you, it's hard to quantify what it's actually like.
But that's just the thing. I started watching BNC now, which is the Black News channel. They did a piece on Miss America. She just committed suicide. And they were saying how, suicide is not synonymous to our community. That was never really something that we did. But then they're saying that within the last, I think 2 years, 3 years, that the suicide rates within Black Americans has gone up 45%, which is crazy to me. But it was never really synonymous to us because of the fact that we were so used to having to go through. We were so used to having to keeping our head above, you know what I'm saying? We so used to the good times. We so used to trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. So if the economy collapses, oh well, didn't affect me anyway. I hide my money under my mattress. I don't put it in the bank. So it was, and because of the fact that now that we are now so integrated into this society and this way of being, we don't know how to navigate how we used to, because like we literally went through hell, and the hell passed down through our DNA through generations. And we were just so used to trying to keep hope alive. James Baldwin said, being woke in America is basically being enraged every day. So we're so used to the rage, it's just like, oh, well, it's another Tuesday. But now that we are with the metaverse, social media is now connecting all of us with each other, and we're so plugged into the matrix now. So it's just like, we don't know how to step back and now be different, and now just continue in the ways and the traditions that we've had to literally create for ourselves within this country. Now it's a free for all because we lost the community. You know what I'm saying? Now we have access to everything they have access to. But then when our kids go to their schools and they're like basically one of 5 of how many hundreds? And then they do that learning lesson within that school. And I believe Tennessee has said, now that it's Black History Month, we're going to try Black cuisine. So for the first day of Black History Month, our menu is going to consist of fried chicken. See what now? This is what happens because of the fact that we're trying to assimilate and we're trying to go into, like, even when I pick up my son from school, and I'm literally one of 2 or 3 Black parents coming to pick up their kids, and everybody's staring at me like, 3 of us, right? Everybody's staring at me like I know I be fly, but ain't why you staring at me?
Nah, that joint is hilarious because when he comes out, the kid is supposed to point to their parent and like they confirm that that's the parent that they're going to. So when he comes out, he points and all the parents look.
Yeah, all the parents look at you like, is that your Black kid? Because they always, that's your kid. When the other Black boy comes out first, they always look at me like,
You're like, that's you?
That ain't my, is he black?
Like, no, man. I don't know this kid.
No, I don't know him. I'm not gonna take nobody else's black child. But this is what happens. You're like one of.
I think, like I've said this already, integration was a positive thing. I think it was done wrong and it has a ton of negatives to it, but I think it was necessary. So I want to make that clear. The negatives, I think, are the things that you're talking about. So when you are, one, you're trying to succeed in life. So let's just say for yourself, it's not an influence of, I want to be like a white person or whoever. Hey, I want to get a big house. I want to get a nice house. I want to get nice cars. I want to have nice clothes and nice things just because they're nice, not because a white person has it, just because I want something nice. And you make it to that point, and it just so happens that the majority of the people here are white. So when you're there and people are looking at you, black people from one side, white people from one side, black people see you as a sellout, white people see you as, oh my gosh, why is she here? Or, she must know somebody, whatever the case may be. That's my issue right there. Because it's almost like you put this kind of like, I don't want to say like a price, but you put this weird stamp of like, there's a stamp of approval on each side of success that you have to meet to actually be successful. And it's just like, we work hard, we do what we got to do. We don't ask anybody for anything. That's why I'm here. And why is it a problem for me to move into this neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where the big house was. So this is where I came to get it. But again, I believe that goes back to, I feel like everything that troubles black people, you can go back to some point in history where you can say that this started. Because if you could get all these big houses in urban areas and stuff like that were super nice and all this other stuff, I believe black people would do that. White people would do that. I mean, they're doing it. Obviously, gentrification exists and all that other stuff, but redlining has an effect on that.
Don't get me started.
But this is what I'm saying. The reason you have to go out of, the reason why you have to travel into the Yonderville to find something is because they made it so that there was nothing where you were.
They also made it to where if there were any new developments being built, they put it in the clause for whatever developer or contractor that was in charge of that development. They wrote it into the clause that no Negroes can buy in this development, this cul-de-sac, this subdivision. They made it to where you couldn't do that. I implore everybody to read this book about de jure segregation. He broke it down like a fraction. I was just like, my God in heaven. But the name of the book is called The Color of Law, and it's by Richard Rothstein. Let me tell you something. If you read that book, you're going to be like, what in the what? Huh?
Is he Jewish?
Sounds like it. He doesn't have a picture on the book, but he breaks down the real estate market and how the government sanctioned segregation.
Honestly, I just think integration, especially to the points that you guys are making, was a pacifier, to be honest. I think once you gave us money, honestly, there was a quote, I forgot what movie it was, but it was one of these mafia movies. And the dude was just like, he was obviously the head of the gang or whatever. And he was just like, I give my guys enough money to where they're good, but they still need me. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like that's what happened with us, where we get enough to where we're good and we can self-sustain, but we still need the government or white culture to, sustain within the society that we live in. So I feel like we've been given just enough to where, you know what I'm saying, we can operate and function within the delusion that we're, you know what I'm saying, self-sustaining. But in reality, we're still dependent upon who we're trying to go against, essentially.
Yeah, I think like that's actually a really good point. I think integration needed to be done better. I don't even know if I can say that enough times, but so much of like Dr. Umar Johnson is on this straight. Like there's a lot of stuff that he says that I agree with, and there's a lot of stuff and I'm like, this nigga's crazy. But
Yeah, no.
there's certain things that he says that when I think about it, I'm like, oh, if you say anything, he'll be like, well, no, there's a reason because the black family is this and this and this and this goes here and that goes there. When you think of something that he talks about, which is all the races staying to themselves, blacks stay with blacks. You ain't really black if you date a white woman or you marry a white woman. You ain't really like, no, the Jews stay to themselves, the white folks stay to themselves, the blacks stay to themselves, the Asians, the Latinos or whatever. I don't agree with that, personally speaking. I'm not saying force yourself to be with anybody. Be with whoever makes you happy and you make them happy and it works out and you love each other and it's natural and it's great and it's all that stuff. The reason why I believe in integration is because of probably one reason. One, it's just, I feel like it provides a more natural way of living, to be able to just kind of, without integration, you'll never actually truly see how the other side lives. And in order to understand and empathize and sympathize with people, I think you need that experience of seeing and being around other cultures and communities. If I date a white girl, which I have in my past, that gives them an insight into our community that they've never seen. Like, this ain't BET. This is not this ain't a free movie on Lifetime. This is real life. We're driving in this car and we're getting harassed. Not because of you, because of my presence. They're asking you why you're with me because they don't want you to be around me. You know what I'm saying? People are looking at you funny because you're with me. They have no idea. They're looking at you funny because I'm with you. It is what it is. That's just the way it is. But you have to feel that to understand what it's like to be black to some degree, or to be a minority or whatever. And as a minority, I mean, I understand what it's like to some degree to be white in this world. I've seen it enough to be like, well, I know what it's like to be black, so I can completely get how you living. It's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? You walked in and walked. It's like you walk into the back of the store, you took that TV, walked out, didn't pay for it. Nobody asked you. Nah, they just assumed I bought it. I'd never do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, nah, I ain't doing that. Nah, bro, just do it. Like, you ever, like, well, in college, it's funny how when you talk to like white dudes, they're like, nah, bro, you got to do this. Yo, nah, nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to say anything to you. You know what I'm saying? I would never even, how did you even get that thought in your head? There's things that I've heard like white men or white women say to me, and I'm just like, yo, what made you even think that? Bro, I would never think that. Like, what? Let alone do it? That to me is the gap. That's the programming in the conditioning gap. Like, you just don't see it. So when they talk about things like, oh, well, black people are, black on black crime is this and like, so black on black crime exists, but I've never heard white on white crime. I've never heard anybody say that. Oh, but the ghettos and the projects.
It happens more with them, but because of the fact that we don't own media in the way that they do, and we don't control the narrative, they can make up these terminologies to
exactly
to describe us, and that's when everybody is just like, yeah. And if you see that on every freaking news cycle, and it's just like, there was a time, and I think they try it now, but because of the fact that we so quick to catch on to what they be doing, they don't do it as much anymore. Because remember that kid that shot up, they literally had a picture from like his
Facebook page. And they had been talking to him about it. The
first picture that they had was like when he was much younger, and he was like at mass or something, because it was just like he was praying. But his real picture, he looked like Chucky C. But they had
okay.
that first picture up there trying to make it seem like, oh, this dude is he was bullied, and he's his parent. Meanwhile, his parents bought him the gun, and then the mother was just like, I don't blame you. I'm not mad at you. Just don't get caught.
Don't get caught. Yeah.
So when you have the media that's controlling the narrative, and they put out, oh, Trayvon Martin is a thug. He's a drug dealer. He's a miscreant. They would literally, you'd be on trial for getting murdered instead of the person that murdered you. And that it's been like that for the longest time. That's my ultimate goal. Us controlling our own narrative with media.
I don't want to say like if I could give white people advice or anything like that, but just what I would want them to understand. Because I've known, growing up in Long Island, know a ton of white people. You know what I'm saying? And a part of me at times has felt like when I see the things that some of these people I grew up with today, the way they speak, what they say, how they think, I'm like, yo, you weren't like that when we were growing up. So a part of me sometimes feels like being around Black people is beneficial for you until it's not. At least that's got to be the way that your community must view it, because that's the way that I'm perceiving it. And it just like, it feels so evident that that's the way it is. But I don't want to put that on them like that. I'm just saying from my perspective, that's how it looks, and that's how it comes off. But I would want them to understand certain things, like how we're talking about, looking for housing and trying to do stuff. And, there's a reason why when you hear the word urban, you think inner city, ghetto project and stuff like that. And you automatically associate that with Black people. That wasn't our doing. You know what I'm saying? So when we come into your neighborhoods, if you want to call it that, and we're looking for a house and we're trying to, get out of the inner city or whatever, it's because we don't have a choice because of things that were done in the past. And this is where we have to go to find that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We don't start out as millionaires. So I can't go out and just buy the block and rebuild it. You know what I'm saying? I got to get this money, put it together and all this other stuff. And it's not going to happen in one lifetime. You know what I'm saying? It's going to have to get passed down, remixed, remastered, and moved along. But understanding things just like redlining exists. You know what I'm saying? Just the idea of racism and Jim Crow and all that other stuff. That's why you have a fear of Black people, not because we did anything. The biggest thing for me is the prison system. Black folks were free. And you have all these free Black people walking around with no prison system in place. There was no prison system. And in 1867 or 66, magically this prison system is in place. And then I know people love Abraham Lincoln, but I look at him and I'm like, side eye sort of, because it's like, yeah, bro, yeah, oh, slavery is done. Is it? Because the prison system is clear evidence of slavery. It's written that way. You are free and not enslaved unless you go to jail. So now all of a sudden, Black people are going to jail for 30 years to life and all this other stuff for stupid petty crimes. Oh my gosh, you stole an apple that fell on the floor. Oh, they're loitering. Lock them up. And this is what I think they don't understand. And I know a lot of white people have told me, but things change and, things are different. Same person, different mask, whatever you want to call it. It's like hiding in plain sight. I don't know why they can't see it. That's the stuff that bothers me. Like, you can't see what's happening right in front of you. And it's like, yo, I'm experiencing this and living this. You know how many times living in Long Island, I would just literally drive out of the neighborhood and turn onto the main street and get stopped. Yo, where you coming from? My house. You live here? Yeah. I ain't never seen this car here. Got 2 garages. You know every car in this neighborhood? Nah, I just never seen this one. I go to school in Pennsylvania. How long you live here? My entire life. Well, most of it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you don't understand that. These aren't things that Black people chose. You know what I'm saying? Like Harvard or Princeton did a study that Black folks get callbacks for jobs. Like Black educated folks by educated, I mean with college degrees, get called back at the same rate as white felons.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not even competing against your classmates. You already out of that. So you go to college to be able to get a job at the same rate as the white dude that's in jail.
And the thing about that, what you were saying, Noe, with what you experienced in Long Island, I told you I was watching Janet Jackson documentary, and these mofos literally had a petition to get the Jacksons out the neighborhood when they moved to California. And this was after they were the Jacksons. Jackson 5. They literally went out there with their afros, and these mofos had a petition. They was calling Janet Jackson a nigger. And she's like, I've been called the N-word. But now, or probably some of the kids are the same people that was calling her that. She's like, oh my God, I love you, Janet. I love you, Janet. But she wasn't good enough to live in your neighborhood.
I love you from a distance.
Isn't that crazy?
And yeah, it is, because people will act like that and then turn around and it's just like, oh, you always want to make things about race.
In Florida now, you got Nazis on the side of the highway with the swastika, Helen Hitler. And see, this is what I'm saying. Y'all are literally praising an ideology that was whack. What did the Nazis do besides kill millions of people?
I look at it like this. If Barack Obama, being the first Black president, if he ever ran his campaign on, yo, we gonna hate them, they ain't us. If he ran a campaign on hate, Black folks would look at him and be like, nah, bro, I ain't with that. Like, we ain't doing that.
You're going too far, because
you know
we're not hateful people. Because when they came, when they came to our shores in Africa, we was just like, come, you want something to eat?
You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's not in the nature to be hateful, and that's, if people want to say that was your biggest weakness or whatever the case may be. But it's just like, yeah, but when y'all need somebody to come and march for you and fight for you, who are you calling? One more thing, I think it's happening now. I think Black people are actually starting to collectively see their value, because there's a reason why every politician panders to you more than any white person on the planet when they want to get voted in somewhere. At some point, consistently, we have to see that value and maintain that value and maintain that mindset. Like, nah, my vote counts, and it ain't going it's not just going to somebody just because you said something. Like, if you can't come in here and give me a 10-point plan of what it is, I'm not even at this point, I'm not asking about what you're doing for America. I need to know what you're doing for us. Because you're doing for everybody but. So at this point, I'm not asking for so what's the collective plan for the group, for the whole, for the country? Nah, what are you doing for us? Because that's where we're at with it now.
Yeah, because we don't trust nobody now, because we done been hoodwinked and bamboozled.
Because Joe Biden was on the campaign trail. He was talking that talk. And then he got in there and was just like, nah.
Well, what I meant was, that
was whack. I mean, I don't want to say I lost respect for him, because I still like Joe Biden, but I just felt like it just felt so shady. I don't know. It just made me look at him different, just the way the whole presidency has played out thus far. Because there was just so many things where it was just like, you said one thing and did the complete opposite, not even like secretly. Like, you came out and was just like, nah, we ain't doing it. Like
I always say, and Black people, I know who got me into this office. I know who got me voted in, and I won't forget it. That's what he did on his acceptance speech, and I won't forget it. That nigga forgot right after.
He was like, we won? Cut it.
I just forgot it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to deal with your shenanigans, Joe. him or Kamala. Because I sat up here and I was ready to fight a bull to get him in. You done did a bill for the transgender, a bill for the Asian hate, like a bill for the people separated at the border.
Talking about reparations. Black folks was like, reparations. It's like, you starting over here with that? Like, you need to come this way.
Listen, at this point, and this is why I'm saying, because unless we have the money to pay to have a super PAC like an NRA, it's never going to work. And
Black folks need to go out there and get licensed. If you want stuff to change, if you want that gun law to change or anything like that, go get licensed. If Black people start doing any major, like whatever, anything, I can't think of any one single thing, but if there's something that you want changed and you know, like, hey, if we are using the NRA as an example, if you want gun laws changed, if 1 million Black folks just said, yo, today we're going out and we're all registering, guarantee you laws is going to start changing. Guarantee.
The last time they changed is when the Black Panthers was in full effect. That's why they changed it the last time.
So
because I was like, wait a minute, all these niggas are licensed to carry?
And I've seen numerous videos of open carry states and how they treat Black folks who open carry versus white folks. Yep. So I mean, but again, that's the part, even stuff like that, like just as an example, those are things where when I think of Blacks and whites being separate, it's so hard for me to think of it and not think this ends up in a fight.
Just because of history. And obviously they always say history repeats itself. So I understand why you're saying what you're saying, you know, but that's why I'm saying if it's done this time, it has to totally be different.
But for me, I applaud Black people, and I just want to take a moment to applaud Black people. Because regardless of what, you know, the circumstances were, the people who came before me, I have to say thank you, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. And they didn't give them anything to work with, but y'all made it happen anyway. So I appreciate you. Thank you to the ancestors. Just want to throw that out.
Thank you to the ancestors. Because if they weren't so strong, oh my Jesus, Lord have mercy.